Right, this is number 9 off of where they actually, and this one, I do want the exact answer. So some of you actually didn't look at that what's going to be on the quiz, and you started doing the WebAssign first, and then you got to after number 5 and said, I really hate my professor because I don't know how to do any of these problems after number 5. And then you, those of you who were less reserved texted me and said, I really hate you. And I said, we are not responsible for anything after number 5. And they said, I really love you now. No, nobody said that. But here we go. This one you weren't responsible for because I wanted to go over it with you. This one, they want the expression as a single number. They explicitly say do not use decimal approximations. I also do not want you to use decimal approximations. Why? The purpose of this problem is to actually use your unit circle. And on next Monday's quiz, the unit circle is going to appear again. And the following Monday, it will appear again. On the first exam, it'll appear again. You will know that unit circle by the end of the semester. Cold. Cold. You can get it tattooed. Remember I told you that? If you went to the trouble to get the tattoo and it's permanent, I would think that's really cool, first of all. But second, you know, hey, more power to you. You went through a lot of pain to go get that tattooed on. You deserve to actually look off of it. Make sure it's permanent, though, if you're going to do that. All right, so they want you to look at the unit circle. So the first thing is they want the sine of pi over 3. That's part of this formula. Sines are the y values. I go over to the angle pi over 3, and the y value there is square root of 3 over 2. So you can use your highlighter and your green pencil now to mark up your notes. Isn't that nice? Cosine of pi over 2, right there, it's 0. Cosine pi over 6, it's right there, it's square root of 3 over 2. Sine pi over 2, it's right over there. It's the y value, it's the 1. Y values are sines, x values are cosines. So all I'm using is my knowledge of the circle to pull these facts out of the circle. So I just transcribed all that information that I got off the circle to the left. So sine of pi over 3 is square root of 3 over 2 because the y value at pi over 3 was square root of 3 over 2. The cosine at pi over 2 is 0 because the x value at pi over 2 was 0. The cosine at pi over 6 was square root of 3 over 2 because the x value there at pi over 6 was square root of 3 over 2, and then pi over 2, the y value is 1. So I just transcribed those right off the circle. And I plugged them in here. I just plugged those values in. There they go. One by one, I put them in the top. So I get negative square root of 3 over 2. Makes you happy to get the right answer. You couldn't see my little WebAssign, but on my WebAssign, the answers come. I don't get the same view that you have, so it has the right answer marked. Doesn't it feel good when you get the right answer? Okay, I assigned new WebAssign on for 2-2, February 2nd. And these are working with cosines and sines a little bit more. So I'll let you pause for a second if you needed to take more notes off the previous one. All your WebAssigns are labeled by when they're due. So there, it says on Webassign due on February 2nd. That was an idea from the last class. They said, we don't know, there's so many WebAssigns up here, we don't know what was for what. So I have the due date on there. By the way, if you were taking notes from the board, we would already be at 2:45, right? Because I'd have to write everything down on the board. That's one bad problem for this. Add to that I'm hyper. I can cover so much material. We can be all the way up to Calc 3 by the end of the semester. If you let me go, so you have to ask some questions.
I have a question. How did you get the bottom part?
How did I get the smiley face?
No.
All right, let me back up. See, it's a cartoon. See that? This is what I have right here. Sine, this is what they want me to do. They want me to calculate these things. All right, sine pi over 3, well, I got that from the circle. It's square root of 3 over 2. Cosine pi over 2, it's 0. Cosine pi over 6, it's square root of 3 over 2. And sine pi over 2, it's 1. So the 0 wipes out the first term, it's gone. And I'm just left with negative square root of 3 over 2 times 1. Okay? Good? Oh, by the way, last class also said it looks easy when you see it like that. It's different when you sit at home, but at least the good part is when you sit at home, you can just watch this at the same time that you're doing that. Nowadays, I look at YouTube for, I don't know if there's any computer science majors in here. There's one, okay. I learned programming right off of YouTube. But old school way of doing it was a professor stands in the front, he or she explains, usually it was a he, explains how to do that on the board, how to write your code. Then you go home and you just pull your hair out because nothing you do runs. And then you go back and you tell the professor it didn't run, and then you get a bad grade for it. And then you figure out, like, as you're going along over the semester how to do it. But now I just watch it, pause it, type it. I'm just typing exactly, and guess what? It runs. Most of the time it runs. It works. I also learned how to make donuts from those buttermilk biscuits. You punch the hole out of it and deep fry it, and it makes a donut. So there's all kinds of things you can learn off of YouTube. And as you saw, I like to watch Judge Judy and work out off of YouTube too. It's really amazing, right? What you can learn. My daughter's learning. I said, you can learn piano. I don't need to pay for lessons. Go learn it off of YouTube. I learned how to play AC/DC Back in Black off of YouTube. There's a guy with a bald head that had a nice guitar, and he shows you how to play Back in Black. Okay, so this one, again, how it takes so long to get used to a professor. You just get used to them, and then you have to go to the next class. I'm sorry about that, but I show you how to do the problem. I teach you what you need to know inside the problem. So I don't show you a bunch of stuff first and then do a bunch of problems after. It'll take a while to get used to. I just believe that this makes whatever you're learning more applicable because you're learning it in the context of actually doing something. What do you need to know for this problem or these types of problems? Well, you need to know how to change other kinds of trig functions back to sines and cosines. So these are the rules that you need to know. Tangent x is sine x over cosine x. Secant x is 1 over cosine x. Cosecant x is 1 over sine x. And cotangent x is cosine x over sine x. Those 4 things, if you know them, these problems will just kind of fall out because you'll just do the algebra by converting them. And this is a problem on the quiz where I just give you these and I ask you in a blank to change it to sines and cosines. So my colleague across the hall from me, Dr. Forgeston, comes to me from Calc, says I taught Calc 2. The students didn't even know that cotangent was cosine over sine. Right? That's not going to happen to you guys, right? That's right. But if you can't remember it, tell me you had Dr. Song. That's what I always tell students. Don't say me. They say, what is cotangent? Who did you have for pre-calculus? Dr. Song. I told them that you guys are going to say that too. But if you get it right, if they say, good job, who did you have for pre-calc? Dr. Thomas. So that's going to be on the quiz, 2-2.
The second one, is it sine?
The second one is 1 over cosine. Secant is 1 over cosine.
What about the third one?
Third one, cosecant, CSC of x is 1 over sine x.
So you're just going to add the cosine and we have to convert it to sine over cosine? Right, can you go back?
No, you'll have to just know these cold,
Okay.
right? For the quiz, yes. And you'll have to use them in a problem, but if you don't know them cold, right?
The next is...
Always Mondays. So how do you do this problem? I put my little cheat sheet up there at the top. See that? First step is to change the expression into sines and cosines. So they gave me this cosine x over cotangent x, which you can't see in the back, can you? Can you see it in the back? Are you sure? You're just lying to get me off your back? Step 1. No, that's not step 1. That's stuff you need to know. Yeah. You need to know that cold. Another tattoo, another opportunity for a tattoo, that red stuff. So you change that expression using the cheat sheet, which is not step 1. It's something that you should have imprinted on your brain. The red stuff. Using the red stuff, you change the cotangent, which was on the bottom, as cosine over sine. I was using number 4. Right? Yeah, the red stuff is my cheat sheet, which you're not going to be allowed to take into class. So you have to like either tattoo it or memorize it. I'm going to go for the tattoo. So what do you do when you have a fraction over a fraction? That was Dr. Ferguson that just walked past. And he just walked past our room. So he knows now that you covered this material and that you had me. So if you don't know the answer and you're in his class next, just don't say anything. Just pretend you can't talk. So what do you do when you have a fraction over a fraction? Mumble? Invert the bottom and multiply. Right. Invert the bottom and multiply. Invert the bottom and multiply. Come on, everybody, with me. Invert the bottom and multiply. There we go. And because it's a textbook problem, this always happens, right? Something slashes out from both sides. And it ends up being sine. So then I've done my simplification, and I go through the Webassign list. You know, the most scary thing is when you go through the list and whatever you did is not there. Thank goodness it's there. Is there. We're safe.